People of color making an impact in new media and technology. Digital diversity.
Hi there, I'm Lauren Thomas, and this is Digital Diversity, where we highlight people of color who are doing amazing things in new media and technology. I'm really excited about our guest today. You may have seen her on YouTube. She is a natural hair blogger known online as Natural Chica. She started her blog, naturalchica.com, in 2009 as a way to document her own journey transitioning from relaxed hair to natural hair. And along the way, her blog has really blossomed into a site where she shares product reviews, video tutorials, and tips and tricks for other women who are going natural or in that journey. Along the way, she's been featured in a variety of press outlets, including the New York Times, NPR, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and Essence magazine. When she's not busy building her brand online, she's also pursuing a PhD in material science and engineering. So she's got a lot going on and has a lot of great information to share with us today. May, so good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I've been following your videos and blog for a while, and I just love what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the support.
Of course. I'm one of your 100,000 plus subscribers. So she also has over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and she's racked up over 9 million views, right?
Yeah.
So how did it feel when you hit 100,000 subscribers?
Oh my goodness, it really caught me off guard. I had stopped kind of checking my subscriber count for a while, and I just logged into YouTube one day and I'm like, when did this happen? So, I mean, it really, really surprised me. I felt really humbled that many people have watched me over the 3 years that I've been on YouTube. And just to have reached that milestone, I mean, when I started, I'd never thought that I could ever reach that number. So I was just very, very humbled by the support. I mean, really, I was just humbled. I was excited, of course, too, but it was really exciting to see that.
So going back from that milestone, a huge milestone, to the beginning, how did you decide to start naturalchica.com? Where did the inspiration come from?
Oh goodness, so I had so many different sources of inspiration, but the first one I would say were my two younger sisters. So they stopped relaxing their hair, and I immediately noticed the improvement in their hair when they stopped relaxing and started going natural. And so that got me to thinking like, oh wait, why am I relaxing my hair again? I didn't even think that going natural was an option. And so they kind of put me on that track to start searching for natural hair information. And basically what I found was that there was a lot of information online just teaching people how to care for their natural hair, because I had no clue. The first time I stopped relaxing my hair, I wasn't aware of all of the information online. And so I just thought, going natural is just, stop putting relaxer in your hair. And I had no idea how to care for my hair after I stopped putting the relaxer in it. And so I ended up, after 4 months of not relaxing, just putting a weave in my hair, trying to blend this texture with a straight, long weave. It was a disaster, and I ended up relaxing my hair again. And it was after that that I connected with some friends that I'd recently made in Atlanta who said, have you checked out these sites, these YouTube channels where people actually are showing you what to do? And when I started to see some of that information, I'm like, this is amazing. People are taking the time out to give you this information for free, and it really, really helps. And so when I actually started getting on track with the whole natural hair journey again, I said to myself that I wanted to share information as well, because I was just helped so much by others who decided to share. So I wanted to pass that on as well in my own journey.
I love it. So you found inspiration and tips online and you wanted to give it back.
Yes.
It's amazing how many of us who I used to be relaxed for years, and I buzzed all of my hair off.
Oh wow.
And it's amazing because we don't even know what texture our hair is after relaxing it for so long, and it's hard to comb, and how do you style it, what products do you use?
Yes, I had not seen my natural hair since I was 6, so of course I had really not a recollection at all of what my natural texture was like.
So take care of it.
Exactly.
So how did you, when Natural Chica first launched, what were you sharing? How did the blog look?
So I started off on a regular blogger website with like some really random standard template. It was not exciting at all, but basically it was like my online space to just share what was working for me and what wasn't. Like I've been journaling since I was like 5, and so I saw this space as like my online journey just dedicated to natural hair care. So it was really simple. I would just go on, hey guys, this is what I tried today. This didn't really work out. My hair looks a hot mess. Here's a picture of it. So that's really how it started. And from that, it just evolved into, networking with other people, sharing other people's journeys to help inspire others as well.
A lot of women don't even want to leave the house when their hair is a hot mess, right?
Yeah.
How did you get the courage to share that online as you were transitioning?
It was one of those things where I kind of had to push myself. I wasn't very comfortable when I first started, and you'll actually see it in some of my earlier videos. I'm like a mouse talking to the camera, and even now, I cringe watching those videos. It was definitely a process where I became more comfortable, and I found that I became more comfortable when I really started interacting with people in the comment sections, or people sending me emails, and people actually sharing that they were being helped by the information that I shared. So I kind of had to put myself in the back corner and say, this is what I'm doing to help others, and I just gradually became more comfortable with sharing, I guess, myself online.
Right, so even though you're the one on camera, it's not really about you.
Exactly.
Right, it's about helping other people.
Exactly.
And you started writing, mostly blog posts and taking pictures. How did you transition from the text and images to getting started on YouTube?
It was a very quick transition, actually. So I think it was about 3 weeks after I started the site naturalchica.com that I moved to YouTube. And it was only because photos can take you to one point, video takes you to a whole nother level.
Right.
Especially for doing tutorials, it can be a lot more helpful when you're talking through something and then actually visually showing something as well. I know I'm a visual learner, and there are a lot of others out there who are as well. So it was just a more effective tool for me to do tutorials and things like that.
So it's knowing what you want to share, then what's the best platform to share that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your equipment setup like when you first started doing videos?
When I first started, it was literally the little camera on my MacBook. Very blurry, but it got the job done. It got me started, got me comfortable with video. And as I started learning more, that's when I could start investing in an HD camera and things like that, and invest in lighting. And
Right.
But I mean, if you're just starting out, you have to work with what you have. And once you become more familiar with what you have, you can take it to the next level.
So you're at the next level. What are you using right now?
Right now I'm using an HD camcorder, and then I have different lighting setups. Sometimes, well, no, I don't really use the MacBook anymore, but yeah, I just tend to keep it really simple right now with lighting and my HD camera.
So how do you come up with ideas for your videos, for your blog posts? How do you think of the content you're going to put out there?
So when I first started out, it was really simple because it was just sharing what I was going through. Now it's more so about listening to the people that interact with me and just being attentive to what they want to see me do and what kind of information they're looking for. So it's really not hard to come up with ideas at all. It's just basically having conversations via Twitter, via Facebook, like, hey, May, would you do a video about this? And so I'll just write those ideas down, and if I know I'm about to do a certain style or something like that, I'll go back to those comments to see what people are interested in learning and make a video about it or a blog post.
Really kind of crowdsource content ideas.
Yeah.
Right? So people come to you on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and you say, here's what the common questions I'm getting. It's time to do a video or a blog post. And I know one thing you've been doing for a while now is working with brands, right? You get sent products to review, you host events. How did you get started? What was your first opportunity to do work for a brand?
I'm trying to remember the exact first company. I think some of the early work I did was with Miss Jessie's, actually, and I'd met them at the Natural Hair Show here in Atlanta, and through one of their marketing contacts, I was able to do an event with them via Naturally Curly, which was another website dedicated to curly hair. And they had an event in, I believe it was Texas, and they basically took me out there to be a hair model for them. So that was kind of my first brand interaction. And it was really exciting, and I mean, from there, it's just blossomed into so many other opportunities, reviewing products or doing events, as you mentioned, but I believe that was my first real partnership with a brand.
Did you have a light bulb moment like, oh, I could do more of this and really earn money from my online work?
I think it was a gradual turn on of the light bulb. I guess as I was able to, when I was receiving more emails like that, like, hey, we'd like to use you for this, or would you review this? That's when I kind of started realizing eventually that I could actually make money from doing this, especially since a lot of these brands do make a lot of money off of people who, review their products, because it, of course, just brings their product into the limelight, and then also encourages other people to use their products, which generates revenue for them. So when I started looking at it like that, I was like, you know what, I really need to look and see how I can make money off of this as well.
So before you could even start thinking about building relationship with brands, the first thing is to build your network, right? So how did you go from launching a blog, getting on Twitter, putting up your first video, to building this huge audience that you have?
So one thing I'll say first is that it definitely takes time. It didn't happen overnight at all. But one thing I'll say, I think being here in Atlanta has helped my brand tremendously, just because there is a large market for natural hair care here. And so because of that, when I was starting off my blog, there were events all the time dedicated to natural hair care. And I would always be going to these events, networking with other bloggers, networking with the managers of different companies that were sponsoring the events. And from there, that's how I started to build my small network and started doing collaborations. And from there, I mean, it just continuously opens up new opportunities. So that's really how I got started.
Okay, so you built your network offline to start building it online.
Yes, it's kind of a simultaneous thing that you have to do. Offline and online are two different worlds, but it's very important to be in both of them, I found.
Okay, I know a lot of people think they can sit behind their computers and have it grow, but you're saying you gotta get out.
You have to have that one-on-one connection, because that's what really takes you to the next level, by collaborating with other people, meshing ideas together, and it just makes you think in a totally different way and make you think you can even achieve things that you'd never even thought of before. So it's definitely important.
So what is one of the biggest and most exciting things you've achieved that you never would have imagined starting out?
That's really easy. So actually, due to an event I did with, well, not an event, but it was an appearance I did with Shea Moisture on Good Morning Atlanta, again, being as working as a hair model. That opportunity.
Was that after the Grammys? Did you have the Esperanza?
Yeah, the Esperanza spalding look. Yeah, I worked with Felicia Leatherwood. She was the celebrity hairstylist, and that was exciting to work with her. Oh, I love her. I love her. We still are in touch today. But from that point on, I think they had gotten in contact by a freelance writer who was trying to pitch a story to the New York Times about natural hair and the specific connection with YouTubers. And so they were talking to Shea Moisture about it, and Shea Moisture said, hey, you know, we know this YouTuber, Nikki May, Natural Chica, you should reach out to her. And so when she reached out to me and pitched the story, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. Like, I feel so honored that you've even contacted me. And when the story actually went to print, because we didn't know if it was going to go to print or not, it was incredible. I mean, the support I received from the natural hair community, and even those outside of the natural hair community, about the story was mind-blowing. I mean, people at my school, Georgia Tech, some of my faculty were coming up to me like, hey, I saw your article in the New York Times. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But I mean, even from that exposure, that again opened up so many doors. From that, I remember there was an invitation from an organization called Spark and Hustle, which is for women business owners. And they invited me to speak at one of their conferences here in Atlanta, basically on finding your niche. So it wasn't a conference, anything related to natural hair, but it was just my opportunity to speak on how natural hair and basically influenced my ability to find my own niche in the natural hair world and just create this kind of new brand for myself. So that was another incredible experience where I feel like during this journey, I'm always constantly thinking, like, how in the world did I get here? Because it's just been tiny steps over time that have led to so many exciting things for me.
And so Spark and Hustle, was that your first speaking opportunity?
I would say first official. Yes, yeah.
And how did that feel? Were you nervous? How did you prepare?
I was extremely nervous because in the crowd were, you know, these owners of multi-million-dollar corporations. I'm like, how am I here again? But it was just a wonderful opportunity to network. And what I found at that conference was that people were very sharing. They were just very willing to share and help each other grow. And that's how I felt with other events that I've been to in the natural hair community as well. People are just willing to share. And I think that it's a great thing, just helping others to grow.
So what advice do you have for people who are looking for their niche?
One thing I would say, first of all, is to get rid of the fear. You won't get anywhere if you don't put yourself out there. That's something I struggled with in the beginning because there were already so many other bloggers out there. But what I realized over time is that it's really about your voice. You as an individual, you're a unique person. There's no one else out there like you. So no matter what you're sharing, you're gonna have a unique spin on whatever you're sharing. And so that counts. People are going to vibe differently with other people, and just having a wealth of different voices out there gives a wealth of information. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't compare yourself to others. Judge your success by, you know, what you're passionate about, and just always constantly make new goals for yourself. So I think that was a really big thing for me starting out to realize, and that's helped me grow tremendously by just focusing on me and what I can bring as Mei Ling to the table.
And I know it's hard online because you say, oh, well, I'm getting started in this space, but so-and-so has this many Twitter followers and so-and-so has that many YouTube subscribers. How do you bust out of that and step out from the fear when you're and a lot of us get stuck in it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a real fear. I mean, it really takes time, and you have to just be consistent and continuously push yourself to just focus on yourself and where you want to go. You basically have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're going to always be looking to see, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? And constantly comparing where you are. But if you don't have a plan, that's all you're going to be doing. But if you have your own plan, then you have something to look forward to. You know what you're working working towards. So it's not going to happen as much, you won't be as blinded by everything else around you if you have your own plan that you can work towards.
Right. And you're working on really building your brand on different platforms. You've got your blog, you've got YouTube, you've got Twitter. How do you use all these different networks to, grow and build an audience and build traffic and build awareness?
One thing, I actually got this tip from another natural hair blogger a long time ago when I first started out, and she just basically encouraged me to learn how each platform works. You can't use every single platform the same way, or else you're really not going to get any results. So it's basically learning how to speak on these different platforms and what's most effective, because even on these different platforms, you'll have some people who are kind of subscribed on all of the platforms, but then you'll have unique audiences for each as well. So it's learning how to speak effectively to those different platforms and sharing the same type of information, just in very pointed ways directed to those platforms.
Right. I found that in a lot of ways, each social network is like a country, right? It has its own culture, its own custom, its own way of talking, and you've got to tailor your approach to the platform.
Right. And then there are always new platforms coming out of nowhere. I mean, when I first started Instagram, what was that? So, I mean, it's just learning to adapt very quickly as well, and just learning how to speak again to those unique platforms.
So you've only got so much time. So when a new platform comes up, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever, how do you decide to join a new one? Do you start right away when it's out there? Do you wait till it gets a bigger audience and then join?
For right now, I would say I would kind of delve into it a little bit just to see how it works. If I find that I'm getting tremendous success from other platforms versus that newer one, I'll kind of put more attention on the ones that are working effectively, and then still little bit by little bit, work with the new platform and then judge just the stats on that and see, okay, is this worth me putting more time in or not? And that's how I've basically been working with that. I know Tumblr was a huge one for a while, because they'll be popular for a while sometimes, right, and then they'll kind of die off. So it's just really balancing and seeing what's working effectively for you. And that's another thing, the same platforms aren't going to work the same way for every person. It's based upon the type of information that you share and how you share it. So
part of your approach is experimenting, but also analyzing and seeing what's working, and investing more in the things that are working and not spending too much of your resources on the ones that aren't working. And so you're pretty active right now on a bunch of different platforms. How do you analyze the back end? What kind of analytics do you use to see what's working and what's not?
So for me, I would say one of the huge platforms for me is YouTube. So that's extremely easy to analyze because YouTube has their own analytics page that you can easily keep track of. Then my website, I have another analytic tool that I can embed in the website that's easy to track, visitors, page views, things like that. So that's really easy. When you start going to things like Twitter, it can be a little bit harder to analyze. Some people will focus on retweets or the hashtags. That's an easy way to brand yourself on Twitter. There are just so many different things. It's kind of like a science almost. They're experts definitely in those areas. But yeah, I would say for like YouTube and my website, they're pretty established tools that I can use already that have been working really well for me.
Okay, so you look at the analytics on a regular basis. And then what is your content schedule like? Do you post X times a week, X times a day? How did you go about establishing that, or do you?
So when I first started out, I was definitely more frequent, probably 3 to 4 posts a week on my site, maybe a video every week on YouTube. Not so much now. I have a lot going on now in my personal life, which has kind of slowed down posting on that end. So I really just work around my own schedule. So it's not, kind of set out right now.
Okay, speaking of your personal life, let's take a look at this rock. That is so exciting. You're engaged.
Yes, actually getting married in like 2 months, so that's one of the reasons why I'm not posting as much. There's a lot going on with planning, but that, and I'm trying to graduate with my PhD in December, so that's definitely a huge chunk of my time right there.
So how do you find the time for all of it, right? You're engaged, you have this online brand you're building, you have a PhD, and these are rigorous programs, right? How do you find time to balance everything and really excel at everything?
So one thing, I live by my planner, and then of course prioritizing is key. So right now, my priority right now is school, number one. That pretty much dictates everything. So if I do have some free time, I'll try to use it effectively to write up a draft for a blog post or jot down some ideas for a new video I want to record. But it's just really about balance, and when I find those free moments, I try to use my time very effectively.
And why are you pursuing a PhD in material science and engineering?
Why? Oh, I haven't gotten that question asked in a while. But basically, I have a passion for understanding how things work. And I was introduced to material science in high school. And it was the one field that really intrigued me because everything around you is made out of some type of material. So it was perfect for me because I really just wanted to understand on a molecular level why things work the way they want to work. And then when I started taking more classes in college, I realized that a huge industry that uses a lot of materials that I was particularly interested was the biomedical device industry. And I wanted to be able to give back to people in a more direct way. So that was a good area for me to apply my material science research to, because I wanted to have that interaction in the healthcare field. And so that's a short story of how I got interested in material science engineering.
So people ask you about what you're studying. How do you even explain to them what material science and engineering is? Right? It's not like I'm a lawyer or a doctor in fields people really are familiar with. So how do you describe what it is?
That's a good question. I usually try to give very simple examples, especially in the biomedical device field. I'll usually bring up an example of a hip implant. Most people are familiar with those, and then I just go into the details of how you have to be very careful with the materials that you use for those type of devices. Anything that you put into the body's going to automatically want to think that it's foreign and it'll attack it. Right. So you have to be very careful with the formulations of materials, the materials that you even coat implants with, things like that. So that's just basically a whole field right there, and that's just one example of how you could explain it to someone who may not have a background in science and engineering, but they'll say, oh yeah, I know someone with an implant, and that connection will be made.
And I know I have a lot of friends who are engineers, and I know from what I've seen, it's not a very diverse space. So what's that like for you as a woman of color, pursuing a degree in this field?
Yeah, it's definitely true. I would say it is growing, especially with females in general in engineering. It's something that I've gotten used to just because since I started engineering in college, which was like years ago, it was the same way. So I've gotten used to it now. It was something that was a little bit harder for me when I was younger, just because I went to an HBCU for 1 year in undergrad, and when I transferred over to the school that I went to for engineering, totally different space. I mean, only person of color, sometimes the only female, period, in my classes. And you'd have these group projects where you have all of these males around you and they want to take over. So it really taught me to speak up. I was a very timid person growing up. So I learned quickly that I had to speak up and just be confident in who I was and not be afraid to share my own opinions. And it's been like that since the beginning, even till now with the PhD program. Basically the nature of the PhD, you're going to always have someone challenging your ideas because they are new. And so again, it's really taught me to learn how to express myself and my ideas in a clear way that someone else can understand, but at the same time be ready to explain and defend if someone challenges me as well.
Right, so it helps you build your confidence and your voice, which you've been using to build Natural Chica as well.
Exactly.
So you've got your PhD program, you've got Natural Chica. How is it that how are you monetizing Natural Chica? I know a lot of bloggers, they have a lot of content out there and they don't know how to take it to the next level or how to make it into a viable business, but you're really building a business around this brand. How are you building it as far as monetizing it?
So the monetizing aspect for the whole brand actually started on YouTube first, through their YouTube partnership program. That kind of helped me gain some leverage in trying to have advertising on my own site, naturalchica.com, and getting brands to advertise on my space there because of the leverage I had on YouTube. From there, it kind of grew into appearance fees for going to these different events and speaking, things like that. But I would say the chunk of my monetization is definitely YouTube, because that is my largest platform right now.
And what is the partnership program?
The partnership program is basically a program that YouTube has for select YouTubers. Their rules for choosing the partners are kind of iffy because it's not clear cut, but basically once you've reached a certain number of views, they see how often you're posting, they'll take that all into account and basically approach you and say, would like to put some ads on your videos, and based on the number of views and things like that, you'll get a percentage of what they had advertisers pay for them to put ads on your videos.
So there's not an open application, you can't just submit, but you've got to grow.
Yeah, so they'll talk to you and then you apply.
Okay.
So yeah, you can't just go online and apply, but yeah.
So it's kind of
an invite-only application.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty rigorous. There's a kind of a select group of YouTubers who are even in part of this program, right?
I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but I will say that in the natural hair community, I've seen partnerships increase since when I first started 3 years ago. So it's not something that, if you're just starting out, you would think that, oh my goodness, I will never have a chance. I would definitely go for it. There are some tips that I've learned along the way. Like in the beginning, I would use just random music for my videos, which is not something to do if you're looking for YouTube partnership, because if you have copywritten music on your videos, YouTube can't use them. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely recommend not using any copywritten music on your videos, keeping them short. People like compact information. Those are just a couple tips, just if you're thinking about going down that road.
Okay, so how short do you recommend?
3 to 5 minutes is ideal.
And then where do you find music if you can't use, the Black Eyed Peas or whatever?
Right, so for me, I have a MacBook, so I use music from iMovie when I first started, which is copyright-free music, and then in their Final Cut Pro application, they have copyright-free music too. But there are actually some sites online now with people who are composing things specifically for YouTubers and other projects that need copyright-free music. So there are definitely more resources online now.
Cool, what are some of those sites?
Let's see, as of course the name would slip my mind right now, but if you go to some of my videos on YouTube, I always link them at the end so you can see some of the people I use online.
And what are some other tips, things you know now that you wish you'd known starting out about YouTube and content creation?
Not being afraid to reach out to other people and do projects together. That's something that has really been a huge factor in where I've gotten to right now. So in the beginning, though, I would say I was a little fearful because I thought, my numbers aren't that great, so I don't know if I can approach a company or approach, this other collaborator, because I don't know if they'll even want to work with me. But you can't be afraid of that. You just have to put yourself out there, be confident, in yourself and know your self-worth, and use that to strike up partnerships and networking relationships with other people.
And I'm sure you've learned a lot from other people, your professors, your mentors, your friends, other people in the space along the way. So what is some of the best advice that you've been given, either about building your business online or about just life in general in the past couple of years?
Oh, wow. I would say it really goes back to the self-confidence. That has really been something that has grown for me over the past 3 years. Just this journey in being able to share my voice with others and just interacting with others and learning from others has really helped me grow as an individual. So I would definitely say, again, those relationships are so important. Even if you're not doing a project with that person, just learning from them, seeing where they are and how they got to where they are, that is so, so crucial.
And I'm looking at your hair and I'm thinking, I just read her latest, what I'm using right now, blog post. What are you using right now?
Oh, you saw my list. It was like 15 products. So.
Okay, top two.
Top two, actually what I use in my hair today, Camille Rose Naturals Almond Jai Twisting Butter. Okay. And I also use a shampoo bar from Bobeam, which is honey and I think chamomile.
So it's just a wash, condition, twist? Mm-hmm. Mine never comes out like this. It's always some kind of mess.
Oh. Practice.
Okay, I'll check out your video and try it again. And so what is next for you this year? What do you have? What's the vision for May and for Natural Chica?
So right now I'm working on building a new partnership, so I'll probably be sharing details about that a little bit later. But one thing, I've had this annual event here in Atlanta called Naturally Pretty with a celebrity makeup artist, Mimi J, and we're looking to do our 3rd annual event where we are raising funds for an Atlanta women's shelter in the area. So we're really excited about having the 3rd annual one. We've had some great support for the past 2 years, so looking forward to that, and we'll see what else develops along the way.
Okay, and then how did you get into doing events, your own events?
Again, networking, like I'd met Mimi several years before we even did our first event, just at like a blogger event for natural hair, and one day she just emailed me out of the blue. She's like, I have this idea, can we meet up for lunch and talk about it? And from that lunch meeting, we ended up talking for like 2 hours and built this idea where we were mixing makeup and natural beauty and art and music, and we just started working on it, and we're like, I can't believe this actually came into fruition, and when it did, it was just amazing. So we knew from that point we wanted to continue working together because it was really incredible.
Yeah, and 3 years strong is a great track record for an event.
Thanks.
Very exciting. And when is it coming up? About what time of year?
It would be like the end of October.
Okay, so keep an eye out for that.
Yes, please do.
And for those of us who've been living under a rock and aren't following you online already, where can we find you online and follow you?
You can find me on my site at naturalchica.com, Twitter at naturalchica, Facebook Natural Chica, YouTube is Nikki May 2003.
So she's easy to find. Just Google her, YouTube her, Facebook her, Twitter her up at Natural Chica. And remember, I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned from you today is really don't be afraid. Put yourself out there and go confidently in the direction of your dreams, right?
Yes.
So thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited to have you. Hope you've learned a lot. Thank you all for tuning in to Digital Diversity, and be sure to tune in next time.